Payne, a repeated felon, believed to be armed and extremely dangerous. A winter storm warning is in effect in the whole tri-state. Snowfall continue.
Welcome to a new series that we're trying out. It's called The Old-Fashioned Gamer, and judging from the title you just read, you know exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Once upon a time in a small town called Espoo in Finland, a new idea was born. The year is 2001, games like Halo Combat Evolved, Metal Gear Solid, Sons of Liberty, Grand Theft Auto 3, and Silent Hill 2 have just released. These games would later go on to change the spectrum of gaming in the years to come. The first Max Payne fell in that same category, genre-defining action gameplay whose mechanics and combat would influence a huge number of other games to come, even to this day. But what made Max Payne so special? For those of you who play the game, you'll know what the gameplay experience wasn't only defined by its bullet time mechanic. Leaping in an action hero-style slow-mo while shooting thugs at the same time is great, but that didn't define how well made everything else was. The bullet time experience is something that created the buzz for the game, being the first of its kind, but the story, level design, the art style, and graphics were almost a prototype for several action games to come in the later years. Let's talk a little about Remedy Studios. Remedy Studios was a small basement project formed in 1995 with a bunch of young, excited members eager to make it big in the gaming scene around the world. Their first game was Death Rally, a somewhat road rash-inspired over-the-top racing game with several other Gran Turismo-type upgradable elements, which were very unique for its time in 1996. The game was published by Apogee, which was then a leading publisher, having worked on titles like Wolfenstein 3D, the Duke Nukem games, Stargunner, and several really popular games at that time. Later on acquiring 3D Realms in 2008, who were primarily responsible for those titles. The publishers were really impressed with the work the Remedy Studios had put in, and Death Rally would later become Remedy's pioneering feat until the production of Max Payne. Scott Miller, the founder of Apogee, was looking to create a franchise of third-person shooters like 96 Tomb Raider because of its outright success globally. Now, the thing about achieving those feats is primarily derived from the backing of a good developer, and Apogee had the team they required, Remedy Studios. The initial name given for Max Payne was Dark Justice, but Scott Miller had a couple of other ideas regarding the game's name. He wanted a more frontliner character, a protagonist, someone who'd carry the game on their shoulders. A trademark was bought on the name Max Heat, but the idea changed as one of the team members from Remedy insisted they change the name to Max Payne, and well, yeah, the rest is history. The game needed something that would really spice things up. Bullet time was the answer. A slow-mo leap away or in front of enemies to give the player a better edge to shoot. The idea was brilliant, but development delays and technical issues had pushed back the project to a later date, and by then, the Matrix franchise had already introduced the bullet time slow-mo cinematics into the popular culture realm of things. Although Max Payne is quoted to be the first to be involved in introducing this bullet time mechanic in gaming, it was also one of the first to introduce it to mainstream entertainment. I mean, either way, it's an incredible feat to introduce something into an industry that was one of the fastest-growing entertainment industries in the world at that point. Max Payne was first released in July 2001 for the PC and then ported into the Xbox and PS2 by Rockstar Vienna and Canada respectively, which brought even more success to the franchise. The game wasn't an instant hit, with several players from all over the globe not even knowing of its existence. It took players some time to understand how incredible the game actually was. I remember the game on the shelves of several gaming stores around my vicinity, but never really wanted to pick it up because of the sheer amount of competition it faced with popular games that were out at that point in time. It really was a good idea to keep the name simple because of its ability to be remembered. Simple names like this one actually got players to come back to the title later, which got people talking about it. That's kind of when the gaming world figured out how brilliant this game actually was. After a weird turn in events, Remedy sold the rights of the game to Take-Two Interactive for $10 million sometime after the release of the first game, which is also why Max Payne 2 and Max Payne 3 all had the Rockstar logo in them. The second and the third game would also later on be huge commercial successes, but all of that can be credited to the first game and its genre-defining ideas and implementation. The story was another factor that really gave Max Payne its charm. It starts off in the middle and consists of 3 volumes: The American Dream, A Cold Day in Hell, and A Bit Closer to Heaven. The game begins in January 2001 as New York City goes through one of the greatest blizzards ever recorded. Max Payne, a renegade, is a DEA agent and former NYPD officer who attempts to solve the murder of his wife and daughter in connection to a drug trafficking case involving a mysterious new designer drug named Valkyr. While doing so, Max is entangled in a large and complex conspiracy involving a major pharmaceutical company, various organized crime syndicates, a secret society, and the US military. It features a gritty neo-noir style and uses graphic novel panels accompanied by voiceovers as the primary means of telling the game's story, inspired by several hardcore detective novels. The game contains many allusions to Norse mythology as well, particularly the myth of Ragnarok, and many other names used in the game are allusions to Norse mythology. I think with this, you sort of know that the game isn't just a blank game version of a detective novel, but actually something that was well thought about during its production. As much as I'd like to give you an extended and in-depth analysis of the story, I'm sure that many of you already know about it, or if you haven't, this might just give you another reason to get out there and play it if you can. It's available on Steam and even on Android right now. I mean, when you think about it, it's already been 20 years and now the devices that you use in the palm of your hands can easily support this then beast of a game. Incredible! We're not sure if there'll be a Max Payne 4, but we do know that these games definitely have a replayability. You should really get to them if you already haven't. Although the first 2 games haven't aged very well, they're still classic amongst many and hold a very special place for me in games. Max Payne, other than being one of the first action shooter games I played, is also one of the first story-driven games I came across then, perfectly adding the flavor of good gameplay and a great story together. Max Payne is always going to be remembered as one of the great innovators of the action shooter genre. That sums it up for this one. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to Gamer Jooce for more of the old-fashioned gamer, and we'll catch you in the next one.